Florida is known for having a ton of really cool animals. Today, we're talking about the top 10 coolest Florida snakes. Number 10, we have the corn snake, also known as the red rat snake. These guys can get up to 5 feet in length, though 3 to 4 feet seems to be the average. They have a really cool piano key kind of pattern on their bellies that also looks a little bit like corn, which is possibly how they got their name. Another theory is that they got the name corn snake because you can find them around cornfields where they are eating rats and other rodents that are eating the corns. I know corn snakes are kind of boring to talk about because they're so popular in captivity, but objectively this is one of the more beautiful snakes you can find here in Florida, and you can definitely find them. They're abundant throughout the entire state. They can be found in every single county. I've seen a few of them going herping in the Everglades and whatnot. Really awesome snake. When babies are born, they're usually a more grayish, kind of brownish color, and then as they get older, the reds really start to come in. These guys also look pretty similar to the northern mole keen snake, which is also found in Florida. However, that snake is found only in the northern panhandle. Number 9, the South Florida rainbow snake. So there's 2 types of rainbow snakes. It's 1 species, but 2 subspecies, the common rainbow snake and the South Florida rainbow snake. The main difference essentially is that the South Florida one just tends to be a little bit darker, and it is also probably the rarest snake you can find in Florida, if you can find it, but more on that later. These are relatively small snakes, growing about 2.5 to 4 feet, and they are probably the most beautiful snake that you could find out here. I don't even know how to begin describing them. I mean, just look at those colors. I have never seen any snake that even comes close to looking like that. They obviously get the name rainbow snake because of the iridescent hue that shines off of them when they are hit with direct sunlight. These are highly aquatic snakes, and their main source of food is eels, which is why they are sometimes referred to as the eel moccasins. They also eat these eels head first and just swallow it alive because constriction is overrated. These are nocturnal, highly elusive snakes that when you find them, they're typically in the water, hiding amongst the vegetation. These guys are so secretive, in fact, that they have only been found in 1 location, and it was a small creek west of Lake Okeechobee. There's only ever been 3 confirmed sightings of this particular subspecies between 1949 and 1952. And like I said, they all happened in that 1 small creek. So because of that, a lot of people have speculated that they are extinct, not even here anymore. However, there has been several unconfirmed sightings reported, with the latest one being in 2020. So if these snakes are around, they're obviously very rare, very small numbers most likely, and they would need help from things like pollution and overdevelopment. So in 2010, the Center for Biological Diversity decided to petition to the federal government to have these snakes listed as a federally endangered species. And in response, in 2011, the federal government just declared them extinct without going through the proper process of ensuring that this animal was in fact extinct. So who knows? Do you guys think the rainbow snake is still out there, or is it actually extinct? Regardless, me and a friend you guys may know are gonna be checking out the one area that they were supposedly found at and looking for that snake. So if you want to see that, make sure you guys stick around. Number 8, we got the Eastern Coach Whips. This is a slender snake that grows to about 4 to 5 feet. The juveniles are born a uniform light brown color that sometimes becomes lighter with age, and eventually the head and neck, kind of the top like 2/3 of their body, will become a jet black color. It reminds me a little bit of Woma pythons. They kind of have the same like look going on. These guys can be found throughout Florida in every single county except the Florida Keys. They are a diurnal species that prefers hot and dry habitats with open canopies, and they can even be found around beaches. These guys will eat anything from frogs to birds to mammals to turtles, but lizards make up the majority of their diet. I'm gonna put this guy away. He is way too hyper, but enjoy. What do you have on your mouth? Enjoy one last look at Dragonite. my beautiful, beautiful Kimberly rock monitor. Come on, dude. Let's go. Before moving on, I gotta give a quick shout out to my homies, Will Exotic, Brad's Bioactive Builds, and of course, Riddler Reptiles. I know I haven't been active at all. Just have had a lot of stuff going on, but I'm gonna be a lot more active now. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling focused again, and a lot of that was thanks to those three guys, just, you know, keeping me grounded and essentially bullying me into putting out another video. So, love y'all boys. If you guys like my content, head over to their channels and give them a thank you, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here right now. Also, if you just like my content in general, I have also started a second channel completely unrelated to this one, where I'm opening up Pokemon packs. Oh well, let's see. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm opening everything from modern stuff to vintage, somewhat expensive packs, and it's really a lot of fun. So if you're into that stuff, feel free to check it out. I will leave the channel link in the description for you guys to check it out afterwards. Lastly, huge shout out to my Patreon members. You guys are the absolute best, and I love you guys very, very much. Number 7 is the red-bellied mud snake. These snakes average 3 to 4.5 feet in length, and they're pretty thick-bodied. They have a black base with orange banding, and the adults and juveniles look pretty similar, but the banding will extend much further up the sides on the adults as compared to the babies. These guys are found everywhere except for the Florida Keys. They prefer habitats with still or slow-moving water, such as swamps, drainage ditches, canals, and marshes. These snakes are nocturnal and highly secretive and almost never seen, despite being pretty common. So just one of those snakes they're out there, they're just very hard to find. They do a really good job of hiding. As far as their diet, they feed mostly on salamanders, which I think is pretty cool. And the younger mud snakes will typically eat tadpoles, frogs, or smaller salamanders. This is another snake that just doesn't use constriction and instead will just overpower the prey and eat it alive, which is always pretty cool. Lastly, they prefer to lay their eggs in gator nests, which is pretty cool, and another reason why gators are my all-time favorite animal. Number 6, we have the rough green snake, because of course green is the best. It's that simple. These guys average 1.5 to 3 feet in length. They're slender bodied, obviously they're a bright green color, and they have a yellowish creamish belly. Juveniles and adults look very similar, with the only real difference being that they tend to brighten up as they age, so babies are actually not born as vibrant. These snakes are diurnal, so they'll spend a lot of time out in the sun basking and whatnot. These guys can technically be found throughout the entire state in every county. However, talking to people and then just researching online, they used to be a lot more common than they are now, which really is a shame. I think they're one of the coolest looking snakes that you can find here. I've never found one. All the old heads I talk to, they tell me that a few decades ago you could find them everywhere. Like they were as common as like corn snakes and black racers and stuff. And now it's very rare to find one, which is an absolute shame. These snakes enjoy heavily forested areas and live in trees and shrubs, usually on the edges of fields and ponds. These guys can adapt well to suburban neighborhoods when development reaches favorable areas. This is one of those snakes that rarely bites. They'll usually try to either run away or just blend in with the leaves and stuff in the bushes and trees. Something cool about them is they'll occasionally open their mouth and show off the black interior as a defense mechanism, similar to what the black mamba does. If you didn't know, the black mamba is a grayish snake. It just gets that name because the inside of its mouth is black. So pretty cool that a rough green snake of all other animals kind of has a similar behavior. Their main diet consists of spiders and insects. We have another snake that also doesn't use constriction, just getting the animal, overpowering it, and swallowing it whole, which is just so cool. Number 5, we got the banded water snake, also known as the southern banded snake or the Florida banded snake. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, Alex, what is so cool about a damn water snake? And you know what, you're right. Objectively, it probably isn't one of the coolest snakes here. However, it's on this list purely out of respect, man. This snake is also known as Old Reliable. Have you ever been out there looking for snakes, trying to find something cool, and you just can't? You're about to go home empty-handed, but like clockwork, Old Reliable, always there, man. Even on the nights you can't find anything, you can always count on one banded water snake, at least one, to save the whole trip and make it fun. So because of that, they're on this list and you guys will respect it. These guys top out at around 3.5 feet. Juveniles are born with a light red background color with black bands. Adults look very similar, but their background color darkens and the bands are faded into a brownish or creamish orange or yellow. Sometimes the bands are so faded that the snake almost looks like a uniform color, but if you look close enough, typically you'll still be able to see that banding. I don't know what it is with the Florida Keys, but this is another snake that can be found everywhere except the Florida Keys. These guys love to be around water, so areas with lakes, swamps, canals, whatever, would probably have some of these snakes. Like I said, they're very common, very easy to find. Like the green snakes, they also do really well adapting to suburban lifestyles, so you can find them around neighborhoods pretty often as well. These guys are nocturnal and obviously aquatic, so their diet consists mostly of frogs, fish, and occasionally eels and salamanders. These snakes are not venomous, however they often do get confused for the venomous cottonmouth or water moccasin. I talked more about how to differentiate that in my previous video where I talked about the venomous snakes of Florida. If you haven't noticed, we're not covering venomous in this video because we already did that. So if you're interested, check out my last video. Otherwise, let's move on. Number 4 is the scarlet king snake. These guys are only 2 feet in length at most. They have red, black, and yellow rings throughout their body. However, the red and the yellows never touch. The adults and the juveniles will look pretty much the same. The only difference is that the yellow rings may be closer to white as adults. As juveniles, they'll feed primarily on small frogs and inverts. However, as adults, their diet changes and they prefer lizards, especially skinks, small snakes, and occasionally small rodents. These guys are found everywhere throughout Florida. However, they are definitely not one of the more common species. These guys are often mistaken for coral snakes and scarlet snakes. Once you know what to look for, it's actually pretty easy to tell them apart. For coral snakes, there's no need for a rhyme. I hate when people do that. It's just so much easier to just remember that there's different coral snakes, but the one in Florida, if it has a black head, it's a coral snake. If it doesn't, it's not. Like, it's that easy. You don't need to try to remember anything else. And then the coral snake also has like the red is just a lot darker. So I don't know, in my opinion, it's kind of hard to confuse the two, but regardless, the scarlet snake, it's probably easier to confuse them. The main difference, just remember, for the scarlet snake, the rings don't encircle the full body, whereas they do for the scarlet king snake. These guys typically inhabit wet pinelands, but they can be found in drier habitats as well, and they are surprisingly good climbers. They can often be found hanging out on the trees. They are primarily nocturnal, but for a nocturnal snake, they can actually be found out during the day more often than you would think. Kind of like brown anoles, which are diurnal lizards, but they're surprisingly pretty active at night as well. Number 3 is the black swamp snake. These snakes can be found throughout Florida except the western panhandle. I know I got some of y'all. These snakes are tiny. They average 10 to 15 inches in size, with the world record being a massive 2-foot snake. These guys are nocturnal. They have a cool shiny black kind of color, and of course they have a really nice red belly. These secretive snakes can seldom be found away from water. They really enjoy cypress swamps, marshes, lakes, ponds, and streams. Their diet consists mainly of small worms, small fish, small frogs, small tadpoles, because of course they are a very small snake. Number 2 is the eastern indigo snake. My God, what a beauty. These guys grow to 5 to 7 feet in length. They are glossy black. They have iridescent blues and purples when hit with sunlight, hence their name. Usually they also have a reddish orange throat, though you can find one that is just completely black. These guys are found throughout Florida. However, sightings in the Keys and northern Florida are extremely rare. These guys occupy a wide range of habitats throughout Florida, but they are commonly associated with gopher turtle burrows, as they often use these as refuges. They'll eat anything that they can fit in their mouth, going from amphibians to mammals to birds. However, they really seem to prefer reptiles, especially venomous snakes, which is just one of the most badass things I've ever heard. Kind of like certain king snakes, how they'll prefer to just eat venomous animals. I always thought that was super cool. This is another snake that is not a constrictor and instead will just overpower their prey. However, the way indigos do it seems to be just even more violent than other snakes. Maybe it's because they're bigger, but they'll just grab the animal and just slam it like into the ground, like super hard, and then just start eating it alive. Super cool. Unfortunately, due to habitat loss and collection for the pet trade, these guys' numbers have gone down, and now they are a federally protected species. There are efforts being made to restore the populations, and so far we have seen success with that, so hopefully that trend continues. And the number one Florida snake is the Burmese python. Yeah, I said it. The non-native snake is the coolest one. What are you gonna do? These giant constrictors can reach up to 23 feet in length, though anything over 18 is really, really rare. And they can weigh up to 200 pounds as well. These snakes grow very, very quickly. As babies, they spend a lot more time up in the trees, just, being all arboreal and whatnot. However, as they get older, they just become way too heavy for that lifestyle, and they start hanging out more in the ground and the water. So what makes them number one? What makes this the coolest snake in Florida? Well, number one, they're beautiful. Like, look at that pattern. It's so simple, yet so beautiful. It just works. There's morphs of them. You don't need them. The wild type look just looks so much better than any morph you can make. I truly believe that goes for a lot of snakes, but this one in particular, the wild type look is just amazing, and I wish I could have a Burmese python as a pet. Number two, they are apex predators. There's always just something so badass about being an apex predator. I don't know, I just think it's cool. They obviously can eat a bunch of things, but the fact that they can go toe-to-toe with gators and eat gators, which mind you is my favorite animal ever, is just really cool. A full-grown gator will probably beat a full-grown berm most of the time, but occasionally the berm does win, which is pretty crazy. Number three, despite the propaganda you may have heard, these are not some aggressive, evil monsters. They actually have a really gentle disposition. Anyone that has worked with them, anyone that has even encountered them in the wild, they're typically pretty gentle. Obviously, you guys see these clips of these animals, striking and whatever. That's because they've encountered, some dickheads that want to kill them and are harassing the snake and, trying to harm it. But for the most part, they're actually pretty gentle, which I think there's something really cool about, being big and powerful and also just being gentle. I don't know, I think it's cool. Reason number four, these things are just athletes, man. Like, they're just athletes. They're on top of, just the physical, size and strength that they pose. They're also just really great swimmers. They can swim pretty fast, and they can stay submerged for up to half an hour, which is insane. I can't even stay underwater for more than 2 minutes until I start feeling like I'm gonna drown. So imagine 30 minutes. I don't know, I think it's just pretty cool. Lastly, why they're number one in my heart, I truly believe that they have been unfairly villainized. I was gonna make a whole video talking about it. I still might. Just talking about just the ethics of killing invasive species. Invasive, mind you, humans are more invasive than anything. All these people that pass these laws have different interests with land developers. If they cared about Florida, the ecosystem, that's where they would look at. But instead, it's a lot easier to, blame a big scary snake. Regardless, not gonna get into it. There's so much more on this topic. It's really not as black and white as people think. Regardless, my opinion, in short, I don't think they should be killed. I don't really think any invasive species should be killed, but definitely not the Burmese python. I think they've been unfairly villainized, scapegoated, and I think there's just a lot of misinformation surrounding them. They're beautiful snakes. They don't deserve to die, and I will always root for them. Hate me if you want, I don't care, that's my position. Those are the top 10 coolest snakes in Florida. If you want to see the video I made talking about the venomous snakes, you can find it somewhere here. I really hope it's on this side. If you want to see my other channel, feel free to check it out. It'll be linked in the description. Maybe I'll leave a comment from that account. It would be really cool to see some of you guys over there. I just started posting videos and I have like no motion because it's a new channel, but hopefully it gets some traction. It would be really awesome to see you guys over there. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today, guys. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy your reptiles.